Do you know what the difference between being a genius and being an idiot is? The only difference between being an idiot and being a genius is success. Like when he was starting Amazon in the 90s, his friends were like, dude, you're an idiot. Now he's a genius. And so my rule is I just want to be an idiot and long enough to one day be a genius, which is why Genius Network is such a great place for me.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is my friend Nathan Jamail, who helps leaders level up.
Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com.
Here's a question worth sitting with before this conversation starts. Think about the people who work for you. If you ask them what their professional goal is, most would say something about growth or impact. But Nathan spent more than 20 years coaching leaders across 3 continents, and what he keeps finding is something different. The real goal of most employees is to be so good their boss leaves them alone. It's not a cynical observation, it's a diagnostic one. It tells you something about how leadership is being experienced, not how leadership is being intended. Nathan has built 7 number 1 teams across 5 states, run multiple companies, taught in the MBA program at SMU for years, and he's coached executive teams of companies from Cisco to Hilton. He's made money and lost money, and he's clear-eyed, sometimes uncomfortable frameworks for why most organizations spend their coaching time on exactly the wrong people. Let's meet Nathan and see how it's done. Welcome to Richer Soul, Nathan Jamail. It's great to have you join us today.
It's great to be here with you, Rocky, my good friend.
And I'm excited to learn from you today. We always like to start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
You know, money was a scarce thing, and my father was an entrepreneur growing up all my life. He owned donut shops. Like, do you remember, Rocky, the old Dunkin' Donut commercials where the guy would get up, like, I have to make the donuts? You kind of look like
It's time to make the donuts. I've made donuts. My good friend, his dad owned the Dunkin' Donuts, so we go make donuts.
Okay, so my dad owned Shipley Donuts and Daylight Donuts, and so we would get up and go make the donuts. And my father, who is, by the way, lives on my ranch today at 80 years old, and we're best of friends. But he was hardworking. You want $1, you earn it. And so, I grew up in that entrepreneurial world. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for the first half of my life until they got divorced at 12, and she became a real estate agent, loan officer, and all that good stuff. But, my family taught me about money, and I just had this inherent internal calling to just try and see how much I can earn myself. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I believe money is easy to come by if you love doing what you do. I don't play the lottery because I won't earn my money. And so school never taught me about money. My family did, and my influences, and just kind of my gut instinct. I remember, do you know Family Ties? It's the old sitcom with Michael J. Fox.
Alex Keaton.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my entire childhood, my brothers used to call me Alex Keaton. That was me.
So where did that come from?
I don't know, other than, my father was real big on working hard. And we were, in fact, my brother, my parents got divorced when we were in junior high. And my brother lived with my father all through his high school year. He would literally get up at 2 a.m, go make donuts, and then his friend would pick him up from the donut shop and they'd go to school. And they did it every day. And I think Blake learned how to work hard. My goal was to learn how to work smart, have impact, and try and be as wealthy and successful as I could by earning it. But I always said, someone's got to be a millionaire. Why not me? That was my slogan when I was in high school.
I like it. So, because your dad was an entrepreneur, did you guys have conversations around how to make money without working hard?
No, dad was that guy that, he was, do you want something this world? You got to go after it. You got to work hard. He's a very smart business. He's high school educated, but he was smart. In fact, quite candidly, in 2001, so I went into corporate America. And so I was in corporate America. Fast forward 2001, I needed an investment. And what I do, my dad was power washing buildings. And I said, Dad, you're too old to be power washing buildings. Now, Rocky, what makes that funny is I think he was younger than me now, right? Like, it's all relative. And so I said, let's be business partners. You're one of the greatest small businessmen I know. You need a better business, and I need a good investment. And so in 2001, we bought our first dry cleaners. And I was a silent partner, and he ran them. We built them and everything.
How'd that work out?
Great. We ran it for 12 years and then sold. Dad had he went in for a little rotary of the arteries, and come to find out they couldn't get through it in his heart. So they literally went in for a in and out patient and ended up with open heart surgery, double strokes on the table. And he had to relearn how to write. And it was, being a small business owner, we had 3 locations, 30 something employees. It was just too much for him through his strokes. And so we brought in a couple of managers, and then ultimately we found a good buyer and sold them. But it was a great experience. Great for us, like any small business. You go there, you lose your backside for the first 2 years. Like, I mean, the amount of money I lost in the first 30 days was astonishing. Like, it had to be some kind of world record.
What did you do wrong?
Rocky, I do everything wrong. This is why I write books and do speeches for a living, because I've mastered doing things wrong. So I help people try and do things right. There's a lot of things we did wrong, but there's also just, it's part of growing business. When you have that type of model, your labor cost, your capital cost, it's large. And, my father and I used to say, we're making $1 million a year, 32 cents at a time, 99-cent shirts and 4.99-cent suits, man. You gotta clean a lot of suits and wash and launder a lot of shirts to make that profitable. And we did, but getting there, first year was a little tough.
You started a small business, but then you were also in corporate America. What drove you to corporate America? Because unless you're at the top, there's no millionaire money there.
You'd be amazed. So I got really lucky. Rocky, I am the epitome of the most blessed human you've ever met. Like, I'm not smart. I mean, I am definitely my wife's arm candy. We all know that, but I'm not a smart man. My theory is I can outwork anyone. So I got in sales early in my life. I started selling Encyclopedia Britannicas in retail door to door right out of high school. I became a 19-year-old financial planner, which was so stupid. I didn't even know, because I didn't know I was supposed to fail. I didn't. I got a Blue Vase Award, and I was good at it. And so, long story short, I got into telecom. I'm so old. I sold pagers back in the day to companies. That's how I got into corporate. I went selling pagers to the state of Texas and organizations and Exxons and the Mobiles and the Diebold's. And then I got into management, became a regional manager in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is a whole nother story. And then I became one of the early employees for Sprint wireless phones. And so I was a stock option baby. And, 1997, I got stock option. 97, 98, I got stock options for $3. And 2001, sold them for 110, something like that. And that money bought my dry cleaners. I didn't want to go buy fancy cars and houses and lose it all. I wanted to invest it. Now, would I have invested in something differently? If I'd probably bought real estate, probably been better money than buying a dry cleaners. But as close as it brought my father and I together, and that time together that, as your parents get older, you start to go back and go, man, I sure am glad I had that time. And so I don't know if my father and I would have become such good friends if we weren't business partners.
That's not always easy, though, with family, especially when the son owns the business.
Well, we were partners 50-50, let's be clear. But yes, I was the financial backing of the property, of the business. And I still had a job. Like I still ran, thank God. I mean, the good news is I was a very highly paid executive at Sprint. I was a senior director of California and then the Southeast region prior to that. And so I was a highly compensated W-2 employee. And so, if I lost 70 grand, I mean, I got to claim it back on my tax return on my corporate job. So, I didn't, it worked out well in that area because the loss paid, it kind of balanced my books really well. So yeah, but us being business partners, oh man, my poor father and I mean, like for the most part, I was a silent partner, probably not as silent as he would like. I call him like, how you doing? He's like, I'm okay. I'm like, get happy, put a smile on your face. But yeah, it was great, man. I mean, it wasn't always easy. We didn't, we argued just like any other business partners, but for the most part, whatever dad wanted to do, he was a smart businessman. I didn't know more need. And so he did it. My dad used to still, in fact, we're not talking 1972. We're talking like 2005, 7, 8. My dad still had the check thing where you move the levers up and down and you pull the arm and it stamps the check. That's how he wrote checks until the day we sold it. Like old school, brother.
Whatever works. He didn't pay for software subscriptions. You save a lot of money by not doing that.
Yeah. And the little things like Dad knew we had we did ADP or whatever. We did payroll. He never did payroll manually. Like he knew his limitations. But yeah, so that's I was in corporate America, and then I got into this entrepreneurial world, and it just started spinning. Right? I mean, first the dry cleaners with my father, and then in 2004, my brother calls me. I was still working at Sprint, and he says, "Hey, I got the nickname called the Preacher." And so from 2001, 2004, I was traveling doing workshops and keynotes for my clients. So it's Circuit City, Best Buy, Radio Shack, and they said, "Hey, will you come teach my people about leadership or selling skills?" And I got the nickname the Preacher, and I was terrible back then. Like I thought I was good, but I was terrible. And if I saw myself right now, I'd be like, "Oh my God, that's embarrassing." And so he said, "Are you ever going to start that public speaking business?" I said, "I sure am." He says, "Great. Will you hire me? I just quit my job." I said, "Sure." So I lived in Laguna Beach at the time. I said, "Call someone. Let's get a company built. That's corporate." And I said, "Rent a ballroom in the Grand Compensi Hotel there in Dallas. Get a film crew, and we'll make a demo video." Dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life. It was terrible. And I have my brother. So at this point, I have my brother on payroll, my dad on payroll. At least my dad made me money. My brother was an overhead expense that just couldn't redeem itself. And then I said, that's not enough responsibility. So then I opened a mortgage company a month later and put my mother on payroll because she was in the mortgage business.
But it all worked out.
Spectacularly. Yeah, very badly, then spectacular. Then I left corporate America and went and ran the mortgage company and speaking business. Married Shannon. She left corporate America and became a real estate agent, and she hated it. But then we opened up art studios for children. That was Shannon's idea. So we literally had like 4 small businesses all trying to make success out of them, and then sold them off one by one as they grew.
Well, that's what entrepreneurship is. Multiple streams of income, multiple businesses, trying things. And how did you look at the not so good results? Was it failure? Was it learning? Was it a lesson?
It was just the process. I mean, Rocky, I guess being in sales kind of prepared me for ups and downs, right? Peaks and valleys, if you want to call it that. My theory was if I had, I still, in fact, I even told myself this today. I live by the fact a good day makes a good week, a good week makes a good month makes a good quarter, and a good quarter makes a great year. So every day something could flip for you if you are doing the right behaviors. And the mortgage business, perfect example. The cleaners, I lost money out the wazoo the first year and a half. Well, when I left corporate America, thank God I had the cleaners because I was able to pull money out of the cleaners. It paid for a lot of stuff. My business, it gave me a paycheck, paid for my truck. And then, kids and art, my wife's small business. Well, we had to put a bunch of money into that and it was failing significantly. But we literally started with we used to carry 5-gallon jugs of water, and that was our sink. They'd pumped one out of water, good water into the gray. Like, it's crazy. But my theory is like, you're just failing until you succeed. A line I made up many years ago is, do you know the difference between being a genius and being an idiot is?
Genius has its limits.
No, a genius, the only difference between being an idiot and being a genius is success. Like when Bezos was starting Amazon in the 90s, his friends were like, dude, you're an idiot. Now he's genius. And so my rule is I just want to be an idiot and long enough to one day be a genius, which is why Genius Network is such a great place for me. Because I'm not a genius, but at least I'm one step closer. And so, I don't look at it as failure. My theory is you just got to make it through the bad time because the good times are right around the corner. I went bankrupt and not bankrupt. We went broke because we never had to sell anything about bankruptcy. But, in 2008, I had no money left. Like I wrote my first book. My speaking fees were extremely low. I wasn't speaking much in 2008. I just started doing this. And and my wife and I had a lifestyle that was built off 2 very high 6-figure incomes back then. And I went to my wife and said, hey, we're out of money. Like we need to sell the house, the cars, and move into an apartment. Or I can quit doing all this stuff, quit chasing the speaking dream. And I can go get a job in corporate America, make a good living, and we'll be safe. And my wife looked at me, Rocky, you met my wife, and she looked at me. And she says, I was born poor. I was raised poor. I'm not afraid of poor. You say live in the dream all the time. Live your dream. Let's go. And the next month, 1 client, next month, 2 clients. And 2009 became a significantly better year than 2008.
And that was not a great time in the economy.
No. I told people my fee was so low, you had to hire me. Like you couldn't afford the good guys no more. You hired the cheap dude. I was begging for $5,000 a speech back then, and it still wasn't booking them. I tell people all the time, I make more money in an hour and now on a keynote than I made the entire year of 2008. And it's not because I charged a lot of money. I lost that much money in 2008.
How do you have the attitude, though, to just keep going? Because for most people, one setback and they give up, 2 setbacks and they're knocked out. Most people don't do well with that. They go back to safe.
Yeah, I think, man, Rocky, we have things happen that would change the course of our direction more frequently than we would like. I mean, we got one going on right now where you got to pivot. And it's just, it allows you to change things in your business that you normally wouldn't change. Like how you go from good to great. When everything's okay, you keep plugging along until something just stops you in your tracks, says, hey, you got to change this. I don't remember who it was that said it. What was the guy that started Apple?
Steve Jobs?
Steve Jobs. One of his famous quotes is, if you're going to own your own business, you better love it so much, because if you don't love it so much, as soon as you hit a big obstacle, you'll quit. It's that hard. And so maybe that's where my hard work for my father comes in. Rocky, I'm never going to be homeless. Like I could lose everything. I could lose my ranch. I could lose everything. And at the end of the day, between my mother, my father, who are, in their 80s now, my brothers, my sister's family, like I would come live with Rocky. I'm not going to be homeless. And I look at business and life like a monopoly board. You ever play Monopoly and you're going around the board and you're literally leveraging off your land so you can get past go the next time? And then three rows later, you're buying hotels for Boardwalk. I think that's how life is. It's never as bad as we think it is. It's probably never as good as we want it to be. But yeah, do I get nervous or anxious but for me, it's fire. It's fuel. Like I am so underpaid, Rocky. That's where I struggle. I see these guys and I should be a billionaire. I'm not saying I earn it, but I mean, there's people out there who are billionaires. Rocky, I got to get better at me and make a bigger impact so I can have more success and help more people. But I don't see it. Now, I mean, if I go broke again, man, it's like exercise, brother. You just keep fighting it. You just keep going. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you that nothing scares me or whatever. Like I don't like it when things go rough. But I'll give you an example. I know so many people who have either their business got so bad they had to file bankruptcy or they're almost going to get like there are all these bad stories. You know what they all have in common, Rocky?
What?
They're all short term. 6 months later, all of them are back on their feet. Every one of them. I don't know one person who faced that trauma of financial struggles, who had a fight in them, who stayed in it.
Is that because of the people you surround yourself with?
Maybe I remember my mother when I was 16 years old. She was her secretary. We lived in a little ghetto apartment. It was just me and her. And her car got repossessed. She told me it got stolen because she was embarrassed. You know, I'm like, Mom, where's your car? She goes, oh, it must have got stolen. And you know, now we're adults. She's like, and it did. I just didn't tell you it was the bank that stole it. You know? And what does she do? She goes off and she gets a Hyundai, you know, Excel back then. They were exchange vehicles. And we just kept on going. You just fight.
Well, first of all, I don't surround myself with people who aren't like that. But when you look around and you read social media or you read the news, it seems like half the world is like that just give up or can't or won't try. I honestly, when I left corporate America, a lot of people are very scared to leave. A lot of people are scared to start their own business and they don't, though. They just stay put.
You know what's an interesting fact being doing what you do? Look at how many people, like I know two just in my immediate sphere who retired from safe jobs. Now I say safe, one was like a sheriff, a cop, deputy sheriff. And when I say safe, I mean payroll only.
Right.
And then two of them were teachers, and another guy worked for like a packaging company. All these people retired, and they have a nest egg money. All of them make more money in their after retirement entrepreneurial career than they made on payroll. The only difference is the reason why they're doing it is they did it as like I need something to do. So there was no fear to stop them. But very rarely do, and this is a great bit for you. Very rarely, if you're willing to take the losses, you're willing to invest your livelihood, take a chance on yourself. Very rarely do paychecks beat profits.
And that's true for me too. It's true for you, right? You left and you make more. I left, I make more.
Yeah, did you make more? But did you make more immediately?
No, the first year I didn't make hardly anything.
Yeah,
Of course, we hit COVID in the midst of that.
sure. Why not throw a little
And
extra
then
challenge on it?
the second year, I think the second year I got back to close to even.
Oh,
And
that's great.
then third year after it was booming.
Hmm.
So yeah, it took me that long.
My deal looked a little different. Mine was like, do you ever go snow skiing? So when I left, you know, a lot of making healthy livings, and we just went straight on down because we had enough money saved up. We were able to avoid the rapids, but you know, it took 3 years, and now I've been doing this 20 years. I mean, I make 10 times what I used to make corporate America.
It took 3 years though. That's the same thing for me. It was the third year.
No, to get to where I am today, I got to balance out probably in, yeah, call it 5 years. 2010 is when I started
Okay.
getting there. Yeah. But I also had a lot more assets, right? The dry cleaners I was able to sell in 2012, and it was a big sell. We sold the art studios for kids. We sold that in 2013. So we had these, although to your point, you know, it took us 5 years to recoup our salary losses. But in the meantime, we had these major assets we now own too, right? And so that was a big game changer for us.
It is if you do it and you keep showing it up and you keep trying. A lot of people I think just give up. And maybe that's what it is. They don't keep showing up or they don't believe in themselves. I don't know what it is. I just know that kind of happens.
So being an entrepreneur is hard. It's a 724 mental job. I mean, when I wrote my first and second book, I used to go to airports and do book signings. How many authors you see in airports doing books? I still do them. Like a couple of bookstores that I'm still friends with. Like, hey, I'm coming through. All right, I'm ordering books. Will you sit out front and sign books? I said, of course I will, because I love you. And I want my book on the front of the bookshelf. And like, I'm going to Dallas and do one because FIFA's coming to Dallas. He's like, dude, you got to come to FIFA. I'm like, all right. And I build relationships with these people. But like, a lot of people don't want to do that stuff. They don't want to. I will tell you this. I think hustle and obnoxious enthusiasm takes talent a lot further. I got about a 3 in the talent calendar. I got a 20 in the hustle and probably another 20 in the obnoxious enthusiasm.
There you go. So these days, you actually coach CEOs of big companies.
I do. Yeah. I would say big, but yeah, big-ish. Yeah. Yeah. 700 million.
It's a decent size.
Yeah. I go to some large corporations, some Fortune 100 companies, some of their executive teams.
What's the biggest issue you see with leaders?
Oh, it's a cultural issue change in business. And that is the biggest challenge I see in leadership, and what I spend most of my time with is coaching employees versus managing them. And I'll give you 2 simple things that you can ask yourself, do you do these things? And you'll find out whether you coach or manage. The biggest obstacle we have, and I want you to think about this, Rocky, the question that you ask is this: why is it that 90% of most employees, 90% of employees, their goal is to be so good that their boss leaves them alone? And that's at all levels. That's a VP says it, a director says it, a sales manager says it, a customer service. Their goal is to be so good that their boss leaves them alone. And my question for their bosses is if that is the case, then how are you valuable? And it's not because leaders aren't valuable. It's because it's not what leaders do. It's how they do it. What I mean by that, most leaders work with the employees who need the attention instead of deserve the attention. And so if I'm always going to fix my struggling employees' problems, and I leave let's see, Rocky, you're my superstar. I let you, Rocky knows what he's doing. I'm going to leave him alone. And Rocky knows as long as I'm leaving him alone, he's doing well. And this is why leaders can't grow employees, because you can't coach someone who views your involvement as a negative or a consequence. So I work with leaders on 3 really most common conversations I have with my leaders. One is getting them to spend time with those who deserve the attention, not need the attention, like changing their focus and their calendar. The second one is actually coaching and teaching their people. Most people let their guys do their job and stay out of their way. My challenge is to be more prescriptive in your directions as a leader. Tell people exactly what you want them to do it. Because when you do that, it doesn't stifle creativity. It creates a foundation for it. And then the last one's accountability. Accountability is a big one at all levels. And I would say every client I coach right now, there is some level, if not a significant level, of accountability conversations. Tough conversations. What are we going to do with someone? How are we going to get them to change behavior so we don't have to change bodies? Those are significant conversations we have to have.
Looking at the last one, the accountability, how did the person who's in that position, not the manager, but the employee, get to a place where they weren't a good fit?
Oh, Rocky, just as easy as the person who is a good fit. I got to tell you, I would, if you gave me 5 organizations with 50 employees, I guarantee you got 30% of them that are in roles. Not only are they not a good fit for, I would tell you 30% of them don't even want to be in that role. Here's the struggle. Most people keep a job they don't want because they think they need a paycheck. Most leaders keep an employee they don't want because they say good employees are hard to find and a bad body is better than a nobody. And so literally you've got these 2 people staying in a bad marriage of business. One's staying because they think they need a job, and one's keeping them because they know a good person's hard to find. And they just say, you know what, let's just get through it together. And it's literally convenience and turmoil and disaster. And what's scary is that it is more common, Rocky, than not. And so I used to have a leader. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm just going to try. I'm trying to stay below the radar. That was his slogan.
This episode of Richer Soul is sponsored by the Profit Answer Man podcast. If you're a business owner who wants to scale and grow, increase profits, or want to have strategic conversations around your financials, then check out the podcast. You'll learn how to work less, increase cash flow, increase profits, and build reserves to help you weather storms. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man podcast is a must listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform. Well, but is that not then bad leaders? So you got the wrong people in leadership. And I'll tell you, I saw this in sales all the time.
Yeah.
In every sales company, you know who gets to be sales manager?
The greatest salesperson.
Who knows nothing about coaching and leading people.
Right. Think of it in sports. Troy Aikman was a much better quarterback than Jason Garrett, but he went into broadcasting. But this is very common. I wrote about it in the Sales Leaders Playbook. The biggest problem we make, and by the way, it's not just sales, it's customer service, it's engineering. Engineering is the epitome of this. Give me the smartest, most tenured person and guy I can count on and put him in charge of other engineers. And this is why we don't coach people. We just manage them because we tend to manage them the way we're managed. But the best shortstop in business always becomes the coach. And again, it doesn't mean that the best salesperson can't become. I was with a client literally in Milwaukee last week, and the salesperson who's extremely good happens to be also would be an extremely awesome coach. I said, you are a rarity. I said, here's what you need to think about. If you're a great salesperson and you think you can be a great coach, the first thing you have to do is embrace a pay cut the first 2 years. And it's like anything else in life. If you want to be successful, if you want to leave corporate America and be your own entrepreneur, you have the same thing. You got to take a short-term inconvenience. You got to take a pay cut for 2 or 3 years, maybe no money at all, if you want to build success and build something on your own. If you want to go into coaching as a manager and you're the number one sales rep, you're going to take a pay cut. So one day you'll become a director or a VP or a leader of leaders. But not only, in my book called The Leadership Playbook, a different one I wrote in 18, I start off the book with saying corporate America is corrupt. And I don't mean it in the financial sense, because I'm a corporate America fan. I love business. I love corporations. I love big business. But I said the reason why I say corporate America is corrupt is because we ask our leaders to coach their employees, yet we never teach them how to be coaches.
You don't teach them how to lead either.
No, we'll give them leadership books and we'll use great quotes like leadership and coaching contradict each other in so many key areas. But one of them is I hire good people and let them do their job. It's the dumbest statement in the history of the world. Like that would be like the Houston Texans, greatest football team in the NFL. Obviously, I'm a little biased. Drafting a superstar college first round draft pick saying, hey, you've been playing football since you were 2. We'll see you on game day. No, they hire the greatest athlete and they make them better. Like hire the greatest leader and make them a better leader. Hire the greatest engineer and make them a better engineer. It's funny. We always love to say we always can learn, yet we always don't think we always should teach. It's crazy.
Are there companies that do this? Because every big company I worked for was a cluster.
Oh, no. I've worked with some great companies. I've worked with Cisco. I've probably coached everyone. I did a workshop for probably every one of their leaders and salespeople over a 5 or 6 year period. State Farm, I've worked with. They're a great group. Hilton Hotels, I still work with them. They're awesome. They're creating cultures all the time. I work with a company, a very large company. You wouldn't know them by name. Their name, in fact, I just got a phone with the CMO a few minutes ago, and their company is called Promoc. Now, you won't know them as Promoc. They own 56 different companies. That's who I was with last week, and I'm going out next week with. And we are not only we creating a coaching culture for their entire organization, I actually am coaching their top 12 program. And so there's a lot of companies. Georgia Pacific I've done work with, McAfee, Sumo Logic, ADP has implemented some coaching. Like there's a lot of companies doing it. Here's the problem with it, Rocky. Coaching's hard. Like I'll do a workshop. Like I did a work. I've coached now and with Promoc over the last 4 days, we've had, 300 leaders in that room. 30 of them will do it. 30 of them will do it. And it's not that they don't want to. It's hard. Everyone's busy. And you can't squeeze in coaching. It has to become the core of your principles. It's hard to change. It's like golf, right? The concept of playing golf is very simple, right? tempo over power, body before hands, and I go to the driving range, and I played Saturday, man. I was at the driving range. I mean, 8 out of 10 shots, I'm just banging them everywhere. And I'm like, my 21 handicap is going to be scored today. Go on the course, and I blow up. It's all mental. It's simple. It's just not easy. It's hard work. That's what coaching's like.
It's funny. I was just on a call before this. It's an EOS group. And what they were talking about, though, was the disconnect between leadership and the front line. They're not on the same page, nor are they listening to each other. And that's partially part of coaching, or maybe it's just the culture that got created in those organizations because nobody was actually listening to what the other person said, or they didn't have clarity on what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, so not that I'm plugging every single book I've ever written, but that goes back to my last book, Serve Up, Coach Down. There's two greatest organizational competitive advantages you can have. One is the speed of change, and two is organizational alignment. And Serve Up, Coach Down is about the leader in the middle. And the reason why it's so important, to your point, is we say the top line doesn't know what the front line's doing, but no one's talking about the two people in between them. And here's what happens. A person, let's say you got a president, a vice president, a director, a manager, and a salesperson. Okay, so I got a president, a vice president, a director, a manager, and a salesperson. And the president tells the vice president, okay, we need your people to do this. And the vice president says, let me reword that because I know my perspective and I'm closer to the field. And then he changes it. And then the next person, she changes it. And then someone goes, look at this. Corporate has no clue what they're doing, right? And so what we have is we try to get people's buy-in instead of belief. Here's whose fault it is. The top leader's fault. And it's the top leader's fault because they're not mandating from the person below them to be in alignment. It's everyone else's fault below them because they don't believe in who they're following. And so, you talk about EOS, like the old traction system. There's all kinds of tools out there that create consistency. The problem is this. When the tool becomes the plan instead of the tool, in other words, we allow the report to dictate the outcomes, that's when it becomes a problem. It's got to be a tool.
And I'm a big proponent of that, whether it's software, tools, anything else. Everyone's got this weird belief that, okay, if I use EOS, I have to follow this set of rules. I'm like, you know what? Why don't we pick the 3 things we like best? Let's take the 2 and figure out how to mold them to us. And then we're going to throw away these 3 because it just doesn't work in our system. And we're going to adapt what we can learn best out of it to make it work for us. And then maybe we'll go find another system and grab 2 or 3 things out of that. It's like when I look at myself and my business, I think a lot of people in my world have a recipe. And I'm like, yeah, that's one recipe. That might work for 3 people. It doesn't work for everybody. I don't have a cookbook. I have a whole wall of cookbooks because I know for this particular situation of what you're going through, in this book is a recipe that might help if we adapt it to you. And we'll do that for part of it. And then we'll grab this from over here and use that for part of it.
But you said something. You said something interesting. You said alignment was that this alignment from the top to bottom that they don't communicate, and I think it's bigger than that and even more simple though. And alignment's about like for example, if you've seen the guy that talks about I quit doing one-on-ones with my employees and I increased my productivity so and so, and there are people who believe one-on-ones are not important. I think people just do them very poorly. That's the problem with one-on-ones. They use them as checkpoints and broad conversation pieces instead of preparing people. And the reason I'm sharing that with you, I think alignment is more important than the actual task or the concept. And you got to be in line with how I want you to coach and how if you work for me, like we have to be in alignment from top to bottom. And I think what happens is we tend to allow someone who's got the right talent who is misaligned, which now becomes a bigger obstacle than their talent. And so, you could work for me and we're going to do these 6 things and they're not optional. Or you go work for someone else and do 6 completely opposite things that are not optional. And as long as you're in the right alignment with the person and the team, both teams can win. There's a lot of playbooks out there. But so often Leaders don't mandate it because this is a bad word. Literally, I'm doing a keynote and someone says, you can't use the word mandate. I said, what do you mean I can't use the word mandate? You can't use it. That's not culturally friendly. I said, here's the problem. You think I'm telling you to mandate it out of power. I'm telling you to mandate it out of success. I'm telling you to mandate it because it's important, not because you have power, but you mandate it because here's the facts. The number one goal of a leader is to make our people do the things that they know they should do, but don't want to do. That's what good leaders do. They push and say, Nathan, I know you don't want to get up at 5:30 in the morning. I know you don't, but you're fat. Okay. And Nathan, if you don't keep getting up at 5:30 in the morning and going doing hot yoga and workout, you're going to get fatter. And I'm going to make you do it. I call her Shannon. But that's what leaders do. They should do.
I have one comment.
Yeah.
When that person said that to you, you should have asked them a simple question. Is that a mandate that we can't use the word mandate?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I tend to be a little more passive when you're saying, hey, I'm not going to give you that money for that keynote if you don't use it. But what I do, to your point, all joking aside, is say, listen, everything I'm sharing with you, when I talk about belief over buy-in, like I think you should serve those who pay you. You see, you see it as weakness. I'm telling you, if you believe in something, you'll do the work. Like if you believe something's important, you'll do it. Everything I'm talking about, from mandate to belief to expectations, you see it as control. I'm telling you, use it as love. This is why we hold our kids to a higher standard than our employees.
So it seems to me that the best way to solve this problem is to find the right people who are already in alignment, because I think it's harder to get people to align than it is to find those who are in alignment. In other words, these are our values. These are the way we do things. These are the things we're looking for. Are you in alignment with that or aren't you? Because I think if you're not, then it's hard to shift it.
It is, but the problem with it is good people are hard to find, is what you'll hear all the time, right? And the reason why good people are hard to find is because good people aren't looking for jobs. And so unless you have a strategy of how you're going to recruit talent, because it's not just making sure the people you bring on the team are aligned. Like I remember when I was writing Serve Up Coach Down, I'm working with one of my favorite leaders of all time. And Lynn was been a senior manager at Cisco. She was the senior manager at McAfee and Sumo. And I love when she changed jobs because she'd take me with her. And when Lynn was at, we'll just say one of the companies, just so I don't get in trouble. And we were getting ready to do an event for all her directors and VPs, leaders. And we're talking about expectations, because I'm real big on that. And she says, Nathan, you know it's sad. I said, what's that, Lynn? She says, and she's a stud. I mean, Lynn's a true stud. And she says, you know it's sad. The very expectations we give our new salespeople, that here are the expectations if you want this job. Because half of our current salespeople don't even meet them. And so here's where the rule came in. The rules came in. This is why we create prima donnas, is you have these expectations. And so what happens is that people, their goal is to be so successful that they don't have to do anything they're told to do. And you start creating alignment through rewards of prima donnas. There's all kinds of mix and matches in this. I tell people, leaders like raising kids. You got to love them a lot. And there's no one way, but it's not rocket science.
I solved this problem. I don't have employees.
Yeah, but my
spreadsheets, they behave.
Yeah. You listen, life's easier without employees or customers. The problem is when you get rid of customers and employees, you have a hobby. And you have a different situation. You've got a great reach, and you've eliminated a lot of your staff, like you do with a very skeleton crew. God bless you. I do as well. I tell people all the time, I have, 10,000 employees right now. Not one of them on payroll, because they're all my clients' employees. It's the best employee. It's like a boat, your friend's boat. Best one to have.
So kind of shifting gears, because you're working with so many leaders and the shift in the world, what are you seeing with AI? How is it affecting the workplace right now?
Yeah, I think it's still new, and there are a lot of people. People are using it to write papers or answer questions. I mean, I use it to polish emails. I will tell you this in different aspects, because I focus mainly on sales, which is funny because I coach 2 manufacturing companies and on the operations side. But let's just talk about sales and leadership for that matter. I think AI in sales is going to be the greatest advantage for great salespeople in the history of our lifetime. Back in the day when I first got in sales, you had no way to get knowledge except call a salesperson because there was no internet, so we'd mail you brochures. And then Google came out, and then you didn't need knowledge, you need implementation. And you still could make a sale based off features and benefits of the product you sold. That's gone. Knowledge is gone. And I'm not saying that you don't have to have knowledge. I'm saying it's table stakes now. Like everybody's got it, and I can get it on AI. Where it's going to make a difference is the ability for a sales professional to create trust with someone, connection, and influence. People cannot have connection and influence and trust with AI. They can get the right answers, they can know how to implement it, but that's where it's going to be the difference.
Can they get the right answer? They'll get an answer, but it may or may not be the right answer, and AI won't take a point of view.
But I'll tell you this, if I say how to put my transmission in my 2019 F350 and AI says do this, because I don't know, it's the right answer to me. And so what happens is, right? And so what happens is, if you're going to tell me that AI is wrong, I'm not going to listen to you unless I trust you. And that connection is what's going to determine my trust. It goes back to the idea, I teach selling skills. I tell the biggest mistake we make in sales is we try to tell people to trust us. You want someone to trust you? Ask them so many questions that you understand how they think, their perspectives, and their priorities. And when you take the time to understand someone, they'll take the leap and trust you. Now, the last one I'll give you on leadership real quick on AI. You asked about that one. If AI is in charge of developing your people, as a leader, you'll be gone. The idea of a leader hiring good people, let them do their job. In the world of AI, I don't need you for that. I can almost automate all checks and balances. What AI can't do is mandate my people do the things that they need to do that they don't want to do. They can't mandate alignment. It can tell you about what's important, but it can't get you to commit to what's important. And so that leadership connection of people want to follow someone. And if you're not that leader, AI will replace you. If you are that leader, your promotability has just doubled.
So I use AI for sales, but the way I use AI for sales is to be my sales coach. So help me improve and make sure, what did I miss in the conversation? What didn't I hear that I should have heard? Right? How can I improve the way I present to this particular client? And it's very good at doing that. It's also very good at, how do I speak to somebody in the language that they use so that my point comes across. So it's been a very helpful coach for me, but it's a conversation, and it listens better than my managers ever did. So, from that
Because also
standpoint,
AI is programmed to be flattering too. So,
oh, but I don't accept that. I tell it no.
but have you read that book that we got from Genius,
Yeah.
the gentleman,
Which one?
Men's Are Gods? Hang on, I just finished it today.
Oh, it's up Diamandis.
Yeah, it's We Are God. We Are as Gods. That's a great
I'm
book.
just on chapter 1.
I just finished it today. It's a great book, and it's going to talk about exactly what you're talking about. If you start using AI to replace your cognitive skills, you're going to lose them. And so the fact that you're using it for feedback and conversation, I think it's great.
Yeah, it's not there to replace my cognitive skills. It's there to challenge my cognitive skills. Help me think better. Show me what I'm missing. And then I'll argue with it. I mean, we have horrible arguments.
You argue with your AI? Does your wife just sit on the other side of the room and go, see, even the computer thinks you're wrong?
The reality is, at the end of the conversation, AI goes, "You're right."
Of course, because someone programmed me to say, tell Rocky he's okay.
No, it's because a lot of times it gets out of context, or it gets stuck in a groove, just like we get stuck in a rut.
Do this, Rocky. I do sales coaching. Why don't you practice one of your presentations for AI and then scrimmage with me? You know what I mean by scrimmaging? So I teach some
Basically,
people to scrimmage. It's role play without judgment. So you role play to test you, but you and I, if we were going to pitch someone, you being a fractional CFO to them, we would scrimmage it not to test you, but to prepare
to
you for the
improve.
game. Yeah, to
Yeah.
prepare for the game. Yeah.
No, I love that. I've always been one who've always asked for feedback. It was always hard to get good feedback. I can tell you that there were very few managers who could give me great feedback.
Well, that's why no one, but who would want to give you feedback when you say, I want feedback? Well, let me tell you something. I haven't got any ever. So I'd be like, I'm not giving you feedback. My favorite is people come to me after a speech. They go, Nathan, you talk about growth and you talk about how you're all, learners or earners and you like accountability. I bet you want some feedback. And I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking, and then I'm going to tell you what I say. What I'm thinking is, no, I don't want your feedback. I want you to pat me on the head and say I was amazing and leave. But I don't say that. I say, oh my God, that'd be awesome. Please give me feedback. And here's what I'll tell you. I never like getting feedback, but I always get better from it. Winston Churchill said the famous quote, I always like to learn, although I don't always appreciate being taught.
I may not appreciate it in the moment, but I appreciate it over time. Yeah, by my nature, I want to improve. That's just the way I'm designed. So I'm always looking for that feedback to help me improve and show me where I'm missing something so that I can get better. Scrimmaging. Yeah. I like the word. I'm into it. And
I got that trademark, so make sure you scrimmaging trademark Nathan Jamail.
no worries at all.
No, it was good.
No, I very much appreciate that. Is there anything else that we should have talked about with regards to leadership and people that we didn't get a chance to touch on?
No. There's leadership's such a broad topic, and that we could talk about it for hours. I don't think there's anything we missed, other than I think we said it. I think the next phase, you said AI and leadership. I think the biggest aspect in growth, the biggest growth aspect of leadership is turning leaders into better coaches. And that is about making people better, not just more experienced. That's about making sure that you have the right people in the team. We're beyond cool quotes, have the right people at the right place at the right time, have the people in the right seats in the bus. What does that mean? And go back to what your point was earlier. It's making sure people are aligned all the way from the top to the bottom. And that middle section is the biggest gap because they have the most power. If you have the two leaders in the middle, let's be clear. We don't like to say the middle manager, so we call them leaders in the middle. But they are the most powerful leaders in the organization. They determine the success and failure of everything from alignment to success and to failure.
Unfortunately, they're in the middle, so they're getting squished from both sides.
Or they're pushing out on both sides, causing great growth up top and great success down below.
Only if they listen to you, right?
That's right. Which is why we say serve up and coach down. Believe in those you follow and coach those you lead. And I'm telling you, alignment is nothing but a given.
Great advice. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What did you learn later in life that you wish you'd have learned sooner?
I'm an idiot. Yeah. I mean, listen, I say this all the time in my speeches. I wish I knew how dumb I was at 24. I would have learned a lot more at 25, 26, and 27. And I think with that realization that I'm not real smart, because I don't have to be. And I think it makes me more willing to learn and listen to people and not have to be right. And I think it's helped me grow as a person. But yeah, I've learned, what I learned later in life that I didn't know in the beginning is I didn't know how big of an idiot I was or am.
Yeah. The wiser you become, the more obvious that becomes.
Yeah, I agree.
What's one truth about success you wish more people understood?
That everyone says it's not about the money. I agree with that. I think the money is a scorecard that allows you to measure your success and what you choose to do with it and how you input. Like the more people you help, the more money you make. And so my theory is the only reason I don't make $100 million a year versus $1 million a year is I'm not doing good enough work. And if you don't like money, I think you can give it away. I don't think people realize that to really grow success and wealth and money, you've got to help a lot of people. Like there's very few people out there who are billionaires and it's like the politicians who criticize Elon Musk for being the first trillionaire. Yet he employs thousands, tens of thousands of people, does more for humanity and the government for that matter than any politician living off our tax on, and they insult them. And I think the idea behind success is, yeah, money doesn't make you happy, but if you're looking for success, like there's a lot of value in how you measure that. And for me, it's a scoreboard. You met my wife. I love my wife. I think it's imperative that we have time for our children. But for me, I want to help so many people. And I think that success is my scoreboard for that. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
It does. It makes total sense. For a lot of people, it's not. I don't think Elon Musk cares about being a trillionaire. It just shows, hey, I've done a lot of successful things. And he has changed the world.
Yeah, and he's not a trillionaire because he's money hungry. He's a trillionaire because he has that much impact on that many people. And by the way, he's so crazy to do things that no one thinks possible. Like, who thinks going to Mars is like? Who thinks I'm gonna get a reusable rocket, even though no one's ever invented one their entire life? Like that's what I'm talking about. And for me, that's success. I fight for it, and for me, it's a sense of my pride. Maybe that's shallow or insecure, but yeah, I think it's important.
And he's still frugal, which is what I love about him.
Yeah, you know what's funny? When I call myself frugal, my wife says I'm cheap. When Elon Musk is frugal, it's frugal. I don't understand. Maybe I need to be a trillionaire so I can get credit for being frugal.
If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
I should know this. I have a 30-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 16-year-old. Learn to learn. My children, one of my asks for my children before they go to college is they read 4 books. And there are certain books that I have them read. I mean, obviously all of mine, but 4 books: How to Win Friends, Influence People, Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, and the 4 Agreements. And those books are important to me because I want them to believe in themselves. And so my challenge to them is learn to be learners, because learners are earners. And so that's my advice for an 18-year-old. And then my last piece of advice for my daughter when she got into business, corporate America, I said, remember your job is to make your boss look good.
I thought it was to go out and make money for the company, but I was just silly that way.
Let me ask you a question. If you go out and make money for the company, do you make your boss look good?
I guess you do.
Listen, it's like my marriage. I don't need to be right. I just need to be happy. I don't need to be right. I just need to be profitable.
If people would like to learn more about you, get your books, how do they hire you to speak? How do they do that? Where do they find you?
Well, first of all, if you want to get more information about me, you probably should see a therapist. But let's say your therapist supports you. No, if you want to, so go to nathanjamail.com. All the books are available on Amazon, Audible, Apple. They're in PDF. They're hardcover. They're in audio, which I'm a big audio fan. I do read all my own books. We do blogs every single week. We're pretty active in that area. But nathanjamail.com. Check us out.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Rocky, I hang out with you every day, all day, brother. I love you.
Thank you for that. I love chatting with you as well. Nathan said, serve up, coach down, believe in those you follow, and coach those you lead. It's not a slogan, it's a structure. It describes a relationship in both directions and asks something of the leader, not just the team. I think the real question this episode leaves you with is not about the people who work for you. It's about whether the people who work for you experience your attention as something worth earning. You know someone who needs to hear this episode? Do me a favor and share it with them. If you'd like to find me, I'm on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.